Hey guys, Sean here. So I'm in Italy, meeting with one of our largest customers, teaching them installation, assembly, and some of the details there. So that's going really well. But what I wanted to kind of chat a little bit about is some of the actual technical aspects of split belt. What makes it different? Why does the technology matter? And what that allows kind of the industry to use and move things forward with bike design and vehicle design. So one example is what makes split belt different from other belt drives. I mean, most people have heard of a fan belt or a timing belt in a car. So they might say, okay, this is a belt drive. They may have even heard of belt drives on bicycles. It's a belt drive. All belts are essentially the same. That's actually not true. It's like saying the first iPhone was the same as your current iPhone 12. It's all about implementation and the materials that you use, the processes that you use. So a belt drive is not just a belt drive, and split belt isn't any other belt drive. Here's a few examples why. In car timing belts, what you have is a continuous loop of a belt, and usually it's reinforced with glass or Kevlar or something like that. So these are strong fibers, and they're basically chosen because timing belts in cars are cheap, they're lightweight, they're quiet, they're easy to implement, they don't need oil lubrication. Cars used to use timing chains primarily, then they switched to timing belts to get these cost savings and sort of design flexibility. And now you see some auto manufacturers switching back to chains. A chain that's built strong enough and running in filtered oil all the time is extremely durable. So this is completely different than something like an exposed chain that you might find on a motorcycle or on a bicycle. So not all chains are the same, not all belts are the same. Another example is belts in bicycles. In order to mount a belt on most bicycles, you traditionally had to actually create a break in the frame. This is a mechanical joint in the frame in order to mount it up. So if you're familiar with working on bikes, you know that you actually have to detach your bike chain to thread it through the rear frame triangle and then reattach it. You might call that breaking the chain. And this isn't possible with classic belts. They're produced in a loop. And so you actually have to create this weak point in the frame, as well as other kind of design changes to the frame to make it belt compatible. Now, this took a long time to convince manufacturers to do, and there's still a small percentage of bike models actually have any way to mount a belt drive. That's a primary impetus for split belt. Existing frame designs can use a belt that comes apart and mounts to the frame. It's a little bit counterintuitive at first, but if you think about two loops and you want to try to make them loop inside each other, in order to do that, you have to make a break in one of them, right? So you can think of the rear triangle of a bicycle as a loop and the belt or the chain as a loop. So one of those has got to break. And every other belt drive until we created split belt, the frame had to change. And that's a problem with cost, with implementation, with design, and just the general structural integrity of the frame. So we thought a better way to do it would be to split the belt and to do it in a way where it distributes the forces through the belt over a large area. So there's no one weak point in split belt. Now, this is really tough to do in a compact package. That's one reason why it took so long for anybody to develop something like this. Maintaining a strength basically enough to lift a small car in a 14 millimeter wide belt is extremely difficult, and it requires the highest grade of carbon fiber you can get. It requires really high precision in the manufacturing as well. So we've gone and done that with split belt. Another advantage that it gives, you can make any length of belt. So right now you're limited to a few belt sizes, and that limits your frame geometry, that limits the sort of drive ratios that you can get. And normally making a new belt size is really expensive. The tooling is really difficult to make. So what we've done is really opened it up to whatever kind of design whatever kind of flexibility you want in your existing frame designs, you can actually order a belt in any size from us. That's a consumer or a manufacturer, and have complete design freedom. Vehicle designers really like that. They don't like having to tweak everything just to make this finicky belt drive thing work. So the idea of split belt is that it drops right in and gives you these huge benefits that you wouldn't get with a normal drive chain. Those include really long wear life, silent operation, no oiling, no cleaning, super snappy feel if you like nerding out over the feel of your bike. No other belt drive has been able to combine these types of benefits in a way that actually works with existing models. Now, in the case of like light electric vehicles as a whole, like we talk about in our video, we're taking things a step further. We're making the only shifting belt drive. This is a split belt drive that can actually shift gears natively. Doesn't need a separate transmission. And that's super important because normally you see electric vehicles as a single speed or something like that. And that's generally the lowest cost and complexity that you can get away with. But that's not the best performance that you can get away with. In fact, you've seen some electric race cars and stuff using 2-speed transmissions. These are internal separate gearboxes from this final drive. In this case, we actually build this shifting into the final drive system, giving you up to 15% better range and acceleration because the electric motor can run in its sweet spot more of the time. So electric motors have a sweet spot just like internal combustion engines do. It's just much broader. There's much more large range of revolutions per minute that you can sit in the sweet spot where it has the highest efficiency and highest performance, but it's still limited. So for example, Tesla is not going to get as good of acceleration characteristics or as good of efficiency at freeway speeds as it will at launch or off the line. So that's something that we're really excited about, is combining this flexibility of no frame modifications and whatever length you need with an actual integrated shifting system that is great for like electric bikes, even pedal powered bikes, but also light motorcycles. Hopefully we'll be able to dive more into that, some of the advantages and some of the technical aspects of that going forward.